Hi, my name is Sloane Oxley Hase, and I'm a master's candidate at Northeastern Illinois University. Today we're going to be talking about the least restrictive environment. The history of the least restrictive environment begins with Brown v. Board of Education. There, the basis of LRE was formed when students were no longer allowed to be segregated. This was furthered in 1974 when an amendment was introduced to the Education of the Handicapped Act that prevented the segregation of students with disabilities. In this amendment, the idea of LRE was introduced. This amendment was later incorporated into the Education for All Handicapped Children Act. So what is LRE? LRE states that children with disabilities should be taught with their peers without disabilities to the maximum extent possible. Students should have a continuum of alternative placements available to them. An LRE placement should be an individualized process that always occurs after the IEP has been developed. Broadly, the LRE is where students will learn. Will it be in a general education classroom, a special education classroom, or a separate school? So what is the maximum extent possible? The law states that, to the maximum extent appropriate, children with disabilities are educated with children who are not disabled. IDEA has no language on how to determine LRE for a student. Therefore, case law drives school districts' understanding of what constitutes an appropriate LRE placement. The other aspect of LRE is that students should be allowed a continuum of placements. Children with disabilities should only be removed from the general education classroom if a satisfactory education cannot be achieved with the use of supplementary aids and services. If a child is removed, they should be assessed for placement in increasingly restrictive environments until a satisfactory placement is found. As an example, if a child has been in the general education classroom and not achieving academic success with the use of supplementary aids and services, they would then assess the student for placement in a special education classroom. If the child could still not, with the use of supplementary aids and services, achieve success in this classroom, the public school might suggest that the student go to a school that is specifically for students with disabilities. Again, this process continues, and students may be homebound or eventually put into a residential facility if their needs are too great to be accommodated at any of the other locations. So when is LRE placement determined? After a student has been deemed eligible for services and their IEP has been fully developed, the team can start considering LRE placement. If the LRE placement is determined before the IEP has been completed, it could render the IEP invalid. When determining LRE, the team should consider each placement's benefit to the student, the effect on their peers, the appropriateness, and the use of supplemental aids and services. So what does this mean for special education? It means that students are always taught in the most appropriate environment. This could be a general education classroom, a special education classroom. Either way, it's the environment where the student will achieve the most academic success. This also means that students are given supports and accommodations to achieve success in the LRE. This could mean, in a general education classroom, a self-regulating checklist, or more extreme, they might need a translator or something else along those lines. The last thing it means is that parents always have a voice in determining the placement of their child. For many parents, without the use of an LRE, they might not feel like they have a choice in where their student is taught. But since determining LRE is part of the IEP process, parents always have a voice in helping determine where their child will be educated. In brief, the LRE process ensures that all students receive academic success in an environment that is most appropriate. Thank you.